In 1994, a film came out that would influence me to this day. 28 years ago. 28 years ago, is that right? Holy crap. That film was Stargate. A film about finding an ancient device that lets you portal to another world. In particular, this scene stuck with me. The Stargate opens. A huge watery explosion blasts forward from the gate, referred to in the show as a Kawoosh. The unstable vortex of a forming wormhole as it connects to another gate somewhere in the galaxy. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Over the years, I've tried to recreate this effect, starting in 2003 at university in a ropey old 3D language called VRML. When asked if he remembered it, my friend Dan described it as
a space penis coming out of a waterhole.
I don't have that poor attempt to show you, unfortunately, but from memory, it looks something like this. Now, for the film and SG-1 TV show that followed shortly after, the effect wasn't done on computer, it was actually filmed practically. They set up a camera looking at the underside of a surface of water and blasted air at it from above. The film they captured was cut out, turned sideways and overlaid onto the footage of the Stargate. Now, I'm useless at creating things practically, so I want to try and recreate it on the computer 19 years after I first attempted it at university. Oh god, that's depressing. So for my first attempt, I thought I'd try and replicate what they did practically, but simulate it on the computer using a 3D program. I'm going to warn you, I'm an absolute beginner when it comes to visual effects and using 3D programs. So if you know what you're doing when it comes to using 3D programs on the computer, you might want to cover your eyes now so you don't scream at the screen as I butcher the technology. There's a free 3D program called Blender. You can download it right now and start playing with it. It's incredibly powerful, and if you know what you're doing with it, you can make some incredible stuff. People have even made full films with it. One of the features of Blender is fluid simulation. It lets you whip things like this up in a couple of minutes. So, for this Stargate Kawoosh attempt, I've set up a volume of water, like this, to dunk a ball into it and pull it out again quickly to see how the water behaves. Okay, so it kind of has the overall shape and movement, but it's far too smooth. What if I make the ball kind of all knobbly to agitate the water a bit more? Dunk. Okay, if we look back at the original Kawoosh, it's mostly bubbles because of the air being blown into it. So really, I don't want to simulate a liquid, I want to simulate bubbles. I've seen an option for bubbles somewhere, hang on. Ah, that looks awful. I think it's because I want the bubbles to be the star of the show rather than added on after, so this isn't quite the way to go about it. Perhaps I could get that looking good if I actually knew what I was doing in the software. Maybe I'll revisit the fluid simulation idea when I've got a better idea of how to use it when I've had some more practice. If you know what you're doing with this software and you've got any suggestions, please get in touch. I'd love to know how to do it. So because I've reached the limit of my knowledge on the liquid simulations, my next idea is to try and 3D model and animate the Kawoosh, which will give me more control over it. So just to set the scene, I've downloaded this awesome free 3D Stargate model off the internet. So the overall shape of the Kawoosh is kind of teardroppy when it's fully out. So first, I need to animate it going from a flat surface to a teardrop shape, and then that'll be the basis of it. I just watched a few tutorials on YouTube, and it turns out Blender lets you morph between shapes using something called shape keys. You take your start shape and end shape and it will work out the steps between the shapes. Okay, so that's the very basic shape. I think we're currently only one up on my old VRML project from uni though at the moment. I think the first thing we need to do is rough it up a bit to give it that kind of bubbly look, and we can do that by adding a modifier called displace. So instantly that's giving it more kind of depth and bubbliness to it, look. Let's try putting a water texture on it. Now the next thing I want to do is apply something called an HDRI, which basically fakes your 3D model being in a particular environment to give it better lighting, reflections and colour. It basically replaces this drab grey background with something, but it actually then affects your 3D model. And there we go, look. Instantly, let's go back to the layout so it's bigger. Instantly, there's a lot more going on here. We've kind of got refraction through the water of the background. It instantly looks a lot more watery and a lot better. Next, I'm going to add a spotlight in, shining actually inside the Kawoosh, just to give it a few more highlights and kind of brighten up the end a little bit. Then I'm going to add a couple of area lights, one above and one below, just to give it some more specular highlights. Then I'm going to animate the displacement map just so it kind of wiggles on its own a bit, even when it's still. I'm also going to play around with the shape and size of the Kawoosh, maybe give it a bit more of a taper until I'm happy with it. Next, I'm just going to make the event horizon that sits in the aperture of the Stargate, and that's just going to be a plane that I've subdivided to give it some more geometry, and then I'm going to put a displacement map on that as well, just to give it some ripples, and then they'll be animated as well. Well, that was the very first complete render out, and I'm going to be honest, it looks a bit ropey. I'm going to try it again, but I'm going to play around with the displacement some more, see if I can get a better shape. I don't know if that was any better or just different. I'm going to have another play with it, and I'm going to play with it until I'm happier with it. And I think I'm going to remove the background, so that's less distracting. And then I'm going to put it in After Effects, and I'm going to put some light sparkles on it. I don't know how it's going to turn out because I haven't done it yet, but anyway, here's the result. Well, that's the best I think I'm going to be able to do for now with the amount of knowledge that I've got in Blender. So it'll be an interesting yardstick to measure my progress on my 3D graphics journey. Maybe every year I'll have another crack at this and see if I can make it look any better. Like I said, if you actually know what you're doing in this software, please get in touch, drop a comment and let me know how to make it better. So if you want an actual tutorial on how to achieve this that we've made in this video, drop me a comment and I will gladly make you a full tutorial. So the reason that I wanted to make a Stargate this time is that I'm making another video that I want to have a Stargate in as part of the story. So that's a sneaky segue to say like, subscribe and press the bell icon so you'll be alerted when my next video comes out and you'll be able to see what I use the Stargate for. It's going to be a fun video, it's going to have lots of 3D graphics in it and quite a lot of silliness, so I hope you'll like it, I hope you'll enjoy it as much as I've been enjoying making it. So subscribe to get that video and I'll see you next time.
David, loving the new Stargate. It is fantastic and it's infinitely superior to your university era creation of a space penis coming out of a water hole. So points for you.